Telecommunicate with each other. So pretty much anything that isn't an offensive spell can be included in Bakudo, except for Healing Kido, which is something else altogether. But let's start right with number one. Bakudo number one is Restrain. It was first used by Rukia in the very first chapter, the very first episode of the series, to restrain Ichigo. It works by forcibly locking the opponent's arms behind their back. Ichigo, though, before he was even able to activate his Shinigami powers, was able to break this. So it's possible that maybe Rukia was going a little bit easy on him, or that any human that has a decent amount of Ryatsu can, break these bindings. Bakudo number four is Hainawa. This is like another binding spell similar to Sai. It creates a swirling energy rope around your hand that you can fling at your opponents and restrain them. I like to think of this as the weaker version of Sajo Sabaku, which is going to be later down the list, whereas that is like a powerful energy chain. This is more like an energy rope. So it doesn't restrain your opponent that much if they're really strong, but it's interesting in delaying them, or you can use it to grab onto things like a grappling hook, for instance. Bakudo number 8 is Seki. Ukitake was the first one to use this. It creates like a round shield around the back of your hand, or I'm assuming you could use it any part of your body. That's just where Ukitake chose to use it. Any part of your opponent that comes in contact with this shield gets blasted away or repelled as if it was a shockwave. Pretty handy. Bakudo number 21 is Seki Enten, or Red Smoke Escape. As the name implies, it creates a huge explosion of red smoke in front of the caster. It doesn't injure the opponent in any way, more as it serves as an escape tactic, to distract your opponent or obscure their vision long enough so you can run away. And most certainly, it's a very handy Kido for Omaida. Bakudo 26 is Kyo-Oko, or Bent Light, a technique that, as the name implies, bends the light around the user so they can seem to be invisible. However, if you're skilled enough, you can rip right through it, as Shinji did to Aizen. Now, of course, Aizen is Aizen, so he probably let Shinji find him on purpose, used a very deliberate low-level Kido, but it's pretty handy for, stealth. Bakudo number 30 is Shitotsu Sansen. The caster creates 3 fangs that can be launched at the opponent, pinning them to a large structure behind them. Bakudo number 37 is Surari Boshi. It creates sort of like a net, which has like a sort of trampoline bouncy effect to it. It can be used in midair, and it basically latches onto structures around it. I guess they could be buildings or trees or whatever. The primary method of this is to catch falling objects. It was used quite a lot during the fight with Ion because Shinigami were dropping like flies in that fight. Oh yeah. Bakudo 39 is Enko-Sen. Pretty much just creates a normal round shield in front of you. It's not a very high-level Bakudo, so if your opponent's strong enough, it'll rip right through it. Izuru used it in his fight against Aburama, but it didn't really go anywhere. Pretty much got shredded almost immediately. Pretty basic shielding kind of Bakudo. Bakudo number 58, Kaku Shitsui Jaku. This is one of those Kido that I talked about that doesn't really have anything to do with defending so much as scanning and reconnaissance. So this is one of the Kido that actually requires the user or to actually draw a symbol on the ground of a circle with a bunch of different characters in it, and then after pressing their hands onto the ground inside of the circle, it basically works as like a radar, I guess. We don't exactly know how it works, but after using it, the person can like read out numbers. Like Isane used it to find out where Aizen and Gin had left. I guess it works by Ryatsu's signature or something like that. Anyway, after using it, She was relaying the information to Unohana. She was rattling off a bunch of numbers. Maybe they work like longitude and latitude or something like that. She was like, all right, let's find out where Aizen and Gin went. 37, 15, 42. Oh, they're at the Sokyoku Hill. So maybe it works like something like that. Very handy to track people, although we don't know exactly the full, extent of, who you can and cannot track. If there's a limit on it or distance, or if you could track something that goes between worlds or whatever. Bakudo 61, Okoro, a very heavily used Bakudo in the series. It was used by Byakuya mostly, who is the most proficient at it, according to Aranyero. It's basically a technique that binds the opponent with 6 restraints of light, very similar to Bakudo number 30, except with, doubled, obviously. That was only with 3. This is with 6. It's also notable to mention that even though the bars of light that bind the opponents are limited to usually around their waist, it actually restrains their entire body, because when Byakuya used it against Rukia when she was being controlled by Zomori, Zomori was like, all right, I command Rukia to slit her throat with her sword. And even though the pillars of light weren't even touching her hands or all, they were binding her at her waist, her amazing waist, she couldn't move her sword. It couldn't even move a single inch. So it pretty much kind of like paralyzes or numbs the entire body, essentially. Bakudo number 62 is Hyapana Rankan, one of my favorite Kidos and the signature technique of Shuhei Asagi. So this technique creates basically a giant iron girder or like a staff or like a fence post that's used by the caster, and then they fling at the opponent, and then it multiplies multiple times in the air, multiple times. There's a shit ton of them, and then manage to pin the opponent to the whatever structure they're against. Depending on whatever part of them hits. Apparently, they get like similar to Rika Jokoro, gets them paralyzed to an extent. Even getting hit by one of these things, has a lot of force behind it. Apparently, Bakudo number 63 is Sajo Sabaku. The technique that I said is very similar to Hainawa, whereas Hainawa is like a normal like rope. Sajo Sabaku is basically like an energy chain that is much more efficient at restraining the opponent. Although I still think every time it was used, it was almost immediately broken by whoever they used it on. Yeah. Bakudo 73 is Tozan Sho, which also works as sort of a barrier Kido. It creates an upside-down pyramid, I guess, that can be used to prevent people from seeing you or attacking you. And maybe you can also imprison people inside of it. Izuru used it to give him a space to work in to heal up Momo and Rangiku while Aion was attacking, but Aion could probably break through it quite easily. Bakudo 75 is Gochu Tekken. Oh, this is an awesome technique. This is the one Hachi used against Ichigo when he was during his hollow training at the Visored Hideout. So Hachi clasps his hands together, and like these 5 symbols float out between his fingers, and then he slams them on the ground, and those 5 symbols all become 5 giant steel pillars. Each one's like a story high, connected by chains, and then they literally flatten right on the opponent, like pin them to the ground. You'd think they would get flattened like a pancake, but I guess if you're strong enough, whatever. Ichigo was able to break through these quite easily after he activated his full hollow mode and he was all going berserker, but still a pretty interesting move. Bakudo 77 is Tente Kura. This is also a very handy communication type of Kido, very similar to Kaku Shitsui Jaku. You need to have special markings in order to make it work, like a segmented pattern on your hand. After activating it, it's called like the Heavenly Skynet or something. No, not that Skynet. It's basically like telepathy, though. Isane used it to announce to the entire Soul Society, what's going on with Aizen. But I would assume she also restricted it so that Aizen and Gin and all the traders wouldn't have heard it. So the caster can choose which people get directed toward the message and which ones don't. It was also used by Tozen during when Aizen was about to invade the Soul Society to let everybody know in Wake Mundo that he basically I win, bitch, fuck off. It was also used in the Final Year Blood War arc. However, I think it was stated that Tente Kura only allows the caster's voice to be heard. It's not a two-way channel, so someone that's receiving the message can't relay it back to the caster. In order to do that, they have these these blades that you throw on the ground and that can pick up sounds and stuff, and that's the way that you can get two-way communication. Seems kind of cumbersome, but hey, you got magic. I guess there's a limit to what it can do, right? Bakudo 79 is Kuyoshi Bari. Oh my god, this is such a cool one. It was only used one time by Uehara when he was spamming all those Kido on Aizen to keep him restrained. He uses Rika Jokoro, Sajo Sabaku, and this one, Kuyoshi Bari. Basically, it creates 9 black holes or black suns, as they're referred to in the literal translation, all around the user. 8 around them and then 1 right in their center. And I guess it's through the gravity of these these balls that restrain the user in one place. It has a really cool design anyway. Bakudo 81, Danku. Oh my god, this is such a cheap Kido. Alright, so this creates a barrier. However, unlike Enko-sen, this barrier is actually worth a fuck. How the fuck is it? Well, the barrier is huge to start with. It's like the size of like a 2-story building, and it completely shuns any auto spell level 89 or lower. I'm gonna repeat that again. It completely shuns, blocks out completely every auto spell level 89 or lower. We're gonna get into some really badass auto spells in a minute, and this thing is cheap as all hell. It makes a pretty cool aesthetic when, Eyes is walking away from Testai and he uses a level 88 Keto, and it is just like, done, Coop. Done. Whatever. Bakudo 99 is kind of unique because it's the only Keto that's actually broken into 2 parts. Bakudo 99 Part 1 is Keen, which basically works by binding the opponent. Caster puts his fingers together sort of like in this interlocking pattern, and then a bunch of these like metal bands come down and then restrain the opponent, and then these like metal spikes come in and like chain that band to the ground. It seems rather simple compared to like the other kind of Bakudos we had. We had like 5 giant pillars pinning the opponent to the ground, and then we had freaking like 9 suns being summoned to trap the opponent by gravity, to just a bunch of metal bands that pin the person to the ground. But it's the highest level Bakudo for a reason. It was the only spell capable of binding Holofy Kensei. Hachi was using Sajo Sabaku and Gochi Tenkan on him, and he broke through those no problem. But it was Keen, the thing that actually managed to break him down. The only person that was able to officially break it was Ichigo when he was undergoing his training at the Uehara shop. But Ichigo's Ichigo. Once again, he's the exception to every rule. He has so much latent power in him. It makes perfect sense to me how he was able to break through it. Bakudo 99 Part 2 is Bankin, or like the final seal. This one actually, in and itself.
Oh, people are actually watching this. It's a test stream, people. A test stream. Which I probably shouldn't have made public.
The second part then, staples them with like a bunch of like little tiny like bolts, I guess, or screws all over their body. And the final.
I'm watching a Tekken video. Doesn't matter. I'm deleting this one anyway. So, there's no one in the chat. That's good. I don't know how I'm supposed to fix this. Let me do this one time. Okay, try this one. If it doesn't work, you're gonna have a problem. Okay, I guess we have a problem. Oh, jeez. I'm just gonna end it.